This is a very quick video just to show my mini-map, which also includes a world map, or at least a level map. Here's the scene. It has this little arch, and the idea is that on the HUD, well, kind of a fake HUD, we show the mini-map automatically zoom in as we go underneath an obstacle. There's no lighting set in this level. But here you can see the little mini-map. It's just a little disk, plane, with a masked off texture, and the render target is up there in the sky. This is the camera for the follow the player around. This is the camera for that render target. And there's another camera way the hell up in the sky, which is our going to be our world map. I'll just go find that. Quickest way is probably just to jump into Kismet. And go to the variable for it. Yeah, because it's pretty black. Seem to have hidden away the sky at some point. Here we go. Here's the world map, and you see there's a magnetic control camera which just turns on when you press a button, and gives you a look down on the scene. And this can be zoomed by controlling the height of the capture actor, which is capturing the texture. We just went zooming past it just then. There it goes. So this is the world map camera, and that's the mini-map camera. Okay, so let's see what it looks like when you play. Press the wrong button. There we go. So you can see that as we move around, the world map rotates with us. It's a little updatey, like you can see it shakes a little bit. Right, so what? When you press the N key, N for nothing, it'll zoom this mini-map in a little bit. When you press that again, it'll zoom it out. Okay. When you go through, or when you go into an obstructed area, it automatically zooms in. So I didn't press the N key there; it did it itself. If I press N while I'm under the obstruction, it stays in zoomed in mode. And you can see that it's registering fine to the world. And if I press N again, it zooms out again. Right. So if I go in unzoomed, it does it itself. If I press N and zoom in myself, it stays that way. And if I come out again, it stays that way. If I press N while I'm under here, it doesn't zoom out, so it prevents me from manually zooming out while it's been set that way. So there's that part. So if I press M, I jump into the world map view, and I've set up a little slider which just goes way back to my first ever slider, so it's not very pretty. This text, draw on UI kind of text thing here tells you what to do. That's live while this is all live, and this has just got a very simple action script which updates the slider value, and you can see that we're taking that slider value and using it to change the height of the camera. So the idea here is when there's actually a level, this could be like an island or something, and we get this many blocks across in all directions, but at the moment there's nothing there. Eventually what I want is so that when you move around, the player moves around and it sort of exposes the areas where you've been, and until they're exposed they'll just be like kind of grey, mushy, out foggy kind of areas you can't really see. And then you can kind of control where you want it to sit, just like a sort of Google map kind of thing. It's a bit jumpy, but basically that doesn't bother me. And there's not much of a pretty map here to look at, it's just so we can see that it works. The shape of the render target is set as a square, so I've kind of left some space here in order to put in other UI elements. Don't know what yet, but I'm sure it can be useful later on. Alright, so you press M again to turn that off, and it's on and offable quite readily. There should be an instruction saying press M to open a map at some point. Maybe there's like a keyboard list or something, and there's your mini-map working. So the user has to know what to press in those cases. So I'm just going to escape out, and just really quickly, here's the Kismet for that. There's a bunch of named variables. This is the main map area, so we press M, it'll switch there for on and off, and it runs a camera which basically jumps us up to where the texture is being drawn. It captures the variables from our little SWF, which is the slider, and gets the slider value. It draws the instruction, it toggles the player off. It's pretty simple. In the actual main map menu here, we get the location of the camera actor, which is capturing the scene capture actor, which is capturing the view from the map for the map. We get its vectors, and we want to change this vector. Basically, we look up the map slider value and compare it to, it's an integer, right? So we compare it 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whatever one it turns out to be, it sets the value. So a value of 6 will give us 7,000 units high, 5 will give us 5,000. 0 gives us 1,000, and 1 gives us 1,500. It's a bit of a cheat, but it doesn't, you don't notice that. Anyway, once it's done, it takes the value and assigns it to the camera actor, so we kind of have a nice little way to set the value there. So every time it changes, the value gets changed. Yep, that's that part. Then we have the mini-map here. It's when the player spawns, we attach a few things there. The camera gets attached to the player, the little mini-map card gets attached to the player, we play the main camera. For just 1 second we toggle the player so they can't move, just so everything gets all lined up nicely. If we don't do that, we tend to get some weird flashes when the scene starts. Bit vague on what's going on there, but it's working. Okay, so the player spawns, we get the XY value of the player, and we set an arbitrary height which we then assign to the map cam. Map cam is not actually the camera, it's just an object like a box which the camera is attached to. So here's us setting the camera itself, or the scene capture actor, to map cam, which is a box. We also attach that box to the player. This gets like completely looped around quite a lot from here on. So once those attachments are made, then we can turn on the N key, because we don't really want the N key to be hit first. If you press N before all that is set up, it could cause troubles. So then we have a switch, which is basically are you zooming in or are you zooming out? And if you're obstructed, we have a sort of special case, which is like if you go underneath an obstruction and you press N, you zoomed in, but you're already zoomed in automatically by the camera, so you kind of have to press N twice to zoom out again. It's kind of complicated, but I've set up an auto N so that if you're zoomed out, what it does is it checks whether you're obstructed, because if you are obstructed, then it will have zoomed you back in again. So it just runs the check there, and if you are, it just basically changes which one is going to work when you hit it. It's not that easy to explain in words, but it works pretty well. So, zoom in, zoom out, it's pretty straightforward. We get the location of the map camera, we get its vectors, we compare that against an arbitrary value for how low we want the camera to get to the ground. We don't want to get too low to the ground, otherwise it ceases to be effective as a mini-map. You see rocks on a couple of rocks on a flower or something. And we subtract the value from the map Z. It's 100 or so. That'll just keep looping around until we hit that value. That's it. So let's just jump back here. We also have zoom out, which is a bit more complicated because it has the are you obstructed or not check. If you're not obstructed, basically it just adds 100 up till 2,000 units. It takes the XY values and Z values and stuff, and it sets them back in again. Takes the current map Z. The map Z is all we really care about, and it sets them to there and attaches it back in again. It's fun if you don't attach it, the mini-map seems to start floating around by itself. Alright, so that's that, and there's a couple of those going on there. Whenever you press the N key, we want to stop it from doing its automatic trace, because while it's going up and down, you don't want it to also be going up and down due to an obstruction. So there's a close coming off of both of these that waits till they're done, and then it sort of opens it up again. It's a little hard to flow around through here, but I've eventually got it working pretty nicely and smoothly. The map obstruction trace is pretty much the same as what we just looked at with the hotkey, but this time it's automatic. So if the Z value is not obstructed, you're making it go up to its maximum. If it is obstructed, you make it go down to its minimum, same as before. As you set the component to loop done, and it loops back, so it loops back again to here. If it's open, it'll go through and loop again, loop again, loop again. It's just continually checking to see where it's obstructed. If it is, then it will go down. If it's not obstructed, it won't. Unless you press the hotkeys, in which case that gets closed and these happen instead. Phew. So that's it. It's pretty straightforward. And that took about 2 days to work out. Yay.